6 pages in, which is the board resolution. Well, that board resolution is in that document, that bigger one, and read what it says that they're using as evidence versus what the document actually is. That's the issue. They evidence the document, and then if you open that document, it says nothing as to what they are evidencing with that document. And that's the issue. Also, it's a board resolution, which can be rescinded by any board.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. Can you place your phones on off or on silent, please? Thank you. Chart.
I've never seen you here.
All right, it's 9 a.m. I will call the regular session of the Fort Clark Springs Association Board of Directors to order. We'll establish a quorum. All board members are present. We'll start with a moment of silence and lead into the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one. Go home and practice, please. Yeah. Julie, if you can send out the little bouncing dot on dispatch for the next week, that'd be great.
Is that my card?
All right.
It's not working.
Does everyone have the opportunity to, everyone have to speak up. Does everyone have the opportunity to review the June 18, 2022 minutes and also the special board meeting minutes from June 27th? Yes. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve the 2 sets of minutes from the last month.
Second. All in favor of approving the minutes from both the June 18th and June 27th meeting? Unanimous, thank you. Secretary's report?
Okay, so correspondence?
Yes.
Julie's poking me as I, telling me what to do. All right, Secretary's correspondence. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I have a letter here from Helena McBride and Stephen Fox and Dennis Leff, addressed to Travis, Huey, and Alan Peterson. On behalf of Fort Clark Springs Community Council and Fort Clark Days Committee, we thank the Board of Directors and the Executive General Officer and General Manager for the generous and essential assistance in providing support for a successful Fort Clark Days 2022. It was very important to have access to the fort grounds and multiple buildings and to have help from staff and administration. And of course, the many hours given by the maintenance department staff. We're grateful to work with all of our partners within the Fort Clark community. And then I have an email from, I think this is also from Helena McBride. Many thanks for moving the gym to the teen center. What a pleasure to go in and use the new exercise machines in a cool environment. Also, thanks for having Amos Trisler as manager. He's a creative idea man. More of us should get healthy, get doing exercise. other stuff.
We haven't had anything else come in.
I haven't received anything else.
All right, treasurer's report.
Our June motel revenue is $35,956, which is up from last month, which is good considering we don't have a pool, which has affected our, and we're up about 79% over last year during this month, when we did have a pool, so I guess that's a good thing. Our total income for June was $189,180. We had expenses of $183,058, so we had a total profit of $6,122. Preservation has $28,922.61 in our account. And our bank balance is total $758,649.14.
Okay, thank you. General manager's report.
Every time I drive around, I have to add more things to it. But the one thing I need to let everybody know right now is that because of the drought, we have absolutely no more room to put brush in our brush pile until we get it burned down. Because right now it's way higher than it should be. So please don't put any more brush on the road and expect it to get picked up, because we have no place to put it until we get that brush burned. So that's going to be one of our issues going on. The city can't use theirs at the same time. Our maintenance department, while we've not had a chance to mow much, we have gotten all the pipes out of the spring that were around the well. And so once we get water in it, I think it's going to make a huge improvement on the way it looks. We've also been going up and down the creek and doing a cleanup. From what we understand, we may get reimbursed some money for that, since that is more of a county responsibility, but they're not going to get to it, and we need to get to it before it rains again. So a lot of the old trees are getting cleaned up out of the, all the way from the spring all the way down past the Red Bridge. So security, we still have our issue with illegals. We had a bailout yesterday, the day before, that basically took out about 100 feet of our fence over at the landfill. So we had to repair that. They were all caught, but they tried to escape into the landfill area. We are prepping our hunting areas to try to get ready for the hunt. And our trap, we had to replace one of them and put it in a new location. It wasn't really getting much results from that area, but we have, I think we brought in around $13,000 so far in trapping, which we usually don't get this time of the year. We are putting watering stations out for the deer. That was one question people had, and not necessarily just the deer, but for wildlife. So we have 3 stations that we're keeping full, so we're trying to help out there. Our recreation, we've started getting a fitness center open. Not anywhere near where it needs to be, but we'll be working on that in the next couple of months. We still need to relocate some equipment. And our rentals for our area, like Service Club, are going much stronger this year. Since last year, we still had the COVID, they weren't being rented. So that area is being rented. Motel, we are going to try to finally get to the last 9 rooms. We're going to try to do 5 in August, and hopefully the last 4 in September. The reason we have not been able to get to them is basically we've been busy enough that we just couldn't get that many rooms out of order on weekends. We have lost 2 family reunions in the motel, which has sort of affected us, but as you've seen, we are getting the DPS people back. So they're trickling in. They are on a voluntary thing now, and they have the option of coming down here. Before they were demanded, they were required to come down here, so that's why they're a few less than normal. Renee has continued to get us more organized on our HOA and all of our collections there, and that's going reasonably well. We have about 300,000 that are collectible that we're pursuing, and of that, 200,000 is already in the lawyers or legally going after. That's not all of our debt, but that's what is secured by some kind of physical asset. Accounting, like will be coming up later, we'd like to see a finance committee established to help us out before the end of this fiscal year so we can get ready for next year. The RV park, we're considering basically downsizing our spaces, or downsizing the number of spaces, because if you realize RVs now have so many slide outs that our RVs, you're basically touching the one next to you. So we sort of need to either expand it farther and reduce the spacing of the ones we have. So we're looking at that right now. Our biologist that we've had, Caitlin, who's been here for about a year and a half, she is now relocated. She got married, so they're going to have to replace her with a new biologist. She's done a lot of good for us, especially when we started working with the spring and bringing in the state working with us there. We owe the two grants that we are applying for, the Jorns, and there's another one that no one knows. It's a small Texas travel industry grant that I'm trying for. Maria Perkins gave me that information, so I'm trying to pursue that one. July and August, these are months that we have to start doing budgets. I have to start getting ready for insurance and trying to get new insurance companies possibly. We're trying to do inventory of our assets, which hasn't been done accurately for quite a while, and doing a reserve study. Our radios are finally in. Unfortunately, 2 of them were damaged. The rest of them will be programmed, but we will have them sometime this week. Everything else, I think. That's it.
Mr. Peterson, I know you and I talked about the other day about, can you just add a little bit about the greens? We talked about it the other day.
Okay, that's right, golf committee. The golf committee has purchased, one time this next week, 1 million gallons of water so we can water the greens. It'll probably only get us done for about a week. If you look at our golf course right now, everything's distressed. We've tried to reduce it down to watering at least 1 to 2 times a week just on the greens. Unfortunately, because of the way our irrigation system does, if we water the greens on a couple of areas, you're going to see water coming up in the middle of the fairway. There's no way of isolating anything out. So that's just going to have, we're going to have a couple of nice fairways in 2 spots. There's nothing we can do about it. It's not the most efficient way of getting water. It basically has to bleed into our finishing tank, and then we pump it out. So about 1 million gallons. If we're going to lose probably 20% just for evaporation. So, but at least that will get us maybe a week or 2. We're watering early in the morning, and we are trying to get a second watering during the week, alternating with front 9 and back 9, so that they can start off on the back 9 instead of on the front 9, and that will allow us to water that one section. So hopefully we can get these things. Things are a little greener now. I've also had them for the golfers. The greens are going to be a little slower because I've had them change the height of what we're cutting. We're going a little higher right now, trying to save some grass, and we hope we can survive during some bad spot.
So there should be no panic about the greens turning brown right now?
Well, when they were turned brown, that's because I think they were cutting it to the old specifications and went too far down. I'm worried about it turning brown.
I mean, but that's everywhere. I've been in Houston in the last week, and I mean, even golf courses that aren't worried about this kind of heat, they're getting rain, they're scorched. I mean, that's just that's where we're at.
Our biggest thing is make sure we keep the roots good.
Yeah.
I mean, the root
Yeah, so that they come back.
Yeah.
On that same note, water board meetings, please go to them. Pay attention to what's going on there. Pay attention to what your farmers and what your water district is asking you to do. It's a long trickle-down effect. That this is not the meeting for that. I'm happy to talk to anyone and everyone who wants to talk about water district issues or mud issues outside of this room. But water district meetings are the second Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. and your mud meetings are the third Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. So we can do a lot, but you're their constituents. We can talk to them as a board. You're the constituents. You have to go and be represented there if you want to fix these issues. All right, we'll go to the airport committee. Did they send anything in? Yes.
Yes, you are correct. Okay, just that top. Airport committee sent in, says the airport was mowed once and treated for mesquite. $210 was spent on herbicide, diesel, and gas. 3 member guests flew in, 1 stayed for the weekend, and 2 were day trips affiliated with Border Invasion. Stan Martin, chairman.
Architectural.
I need to make one note on that. When they spray, they're spraying the runways. They are not spraying the rest of the airport, so that's why you see all the mesquite out there right now. That's the more we cut it, the more mesquite's going to be out there. So.
Please come up.
So this mic?
Just if you're at the corner right here so that they can see you up here.
Good morning. My name is Vince Valdez, not Victor, and I'm on the Architecture Committee. And the report was given to me to give this morning. There's been 13 permits reviewed since our last time that we gave a report. 2 variances have been submitted to the board. And some notes that were given to me to forward is that when submitting a permit request, please be as detailed as possible. There are samples in the permit application. These samples do not need to be submitted with the application. And please remember to sign the permit application. There's been several in the last month that the members are not signing the application, and that just slows down the process for the membership. And that's it. Oh, no, the other thing was that we are having members, some new members, some that have been here a long time, that are doing construction, new construction. You must submit a permit for review for the Architectural Committee. There is a fine if you don't submit the permit. Some people may not know that. Some of the new members that bought property here, we might need to explain to them from the office that they need to make sure that they read their package, and so we can proceed and not have to find these people that are building. We're having people building fences, adding to roofs and stuff like that. That does need to be submitted through the Architecture Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez.
Golf, please.
Golf. This is from Katie Brown. Not much to report this period, as the only tournament we had was the June end of month tournament. It was well attended with 12 to 16 players. With the course closed on July 4th, we canceled the red, white, and blue tournament. The golf committee has $1,600 for repairs to the golf course mower, or spent $1,600. Our next tournament, July's end of the month tournament, is set for July 30th.
Thank you. Reservation?
My name is H.N. Bitter. I'm president of the Preservation Committee. As I think most of the board knows, we're on the actual Preservation Committee is on a summer hiatus. We really won't be meeting again formally until September. But as president, I'm following 2 jobs that were already approved and that are in the pipeline, so to speak. And the Post Theater, some of y'all have seen the ceiling gone on the marquee in front of the Post Theater. That's a whole lot of our situation there, right there. but then the also the service club. Those are the two jobs that are have been approved, and we've gone as far as we can for now with the marquee on the Post Theater. Let me tell you just a little bit about it so you'll understand. The marquee that's on there it's probably 50 years old almost right now. It was put on shortly after the fort became an HOA. Anyway, it goes way back to the 70s. But the situation is it has a historic medallion that's on there. That medallion was put on there in '97, well after that marquee had been on there for probably 30 years when the medallion went on there. So the situation we've got is we knew we were going to find a lot of damage underneath that bad ceiling when we pulled it down, and sure enough, we weren't surprised. Well, we were surprised, but not in a good way. There's a considerable amount of bad wood in there, which you'd expect since it's been leaking rainwater for probably 30 out of 50 years it's been up there. But anyway, we've got to, we also discovered what the problem we really didn't know we had, and that was there's a lot of bad wiring up inside that marquee. There's all kind of connections. There aren't any junction boxes. They're just sitting out there wiring what's on. And it's kind of scary in a way. But, you know, it's been sitting there all this time. It hasn't caught fire or burned down. So I guess that's a good thing.
To be clear, that's because you turn the power off every time you exit the building.
Okay, that's probably the only reason.
That's the only reason it hasn't burned down. Because it gets used 2 hours a quarter.
So to make a long story short, we are in a position. The bad news is we're going to have to get another comprehensive bid or proposal for fixing this thing structurally and electrically and make it safe, and where it'll be there for another 50 years. But to do that, we're waiting on a proposal right now. Our contractor's doing a little research to find out how we can, we've got to replace all these lighting and everything on there. Of course, actually, we're going to try to go with LED type stuff, put more modern stuff in there. There may not be as many bulbs as there was with the previous thing, because we've got to, the bad news, like I said, is having to redo all this. The good news is, as you probably heard from the treasurer, we're probably in better shape financially than we've been in preservation committee-wise for quite a while. So I think, this is not a promise, but I think we can handle putting this thing back in a nice safe and where it'll look really pretty. And if you haven't noticed, a part of the job that has been done, the front of all the bad wood on the front of the theater itself has been replaced and repainted. The doors are repainted. He even replaced the little ticket booth. He replaced the wood on the shelf in the ticket booth and painted it. Everything's real bright, and the theater itself looks good external on the front of the theater, and did replace some ductwork. Not replace them, but fixed them, repaired them anyway. But that's, until we get, I'll have more news for you about that as soon as we get a comprehensive bid and proposal to put it back the way it needs to be. We don't have any choice. We're kind of in a situation where, yeah, we just need to, this has got to be done.
So 2 questions.
Questions?
Yeah, so on now just to be clear, the placard is not on the marquee, the placard is on the building for the historical.
Yeah, it's on the building.
In the write-up of the placard, is the marquee mentioned?
No, but there's all kind of photographic evidence that it's been
Correct.
there for 50 years.
Understood,
You know?
understood.
Yeah.
Have we approached the Kenny County Historical Society or the school district to understand if they are entrenched in having the marquee there, or if you could go back to a style that was pre-marquee and they would still be okay with it, maybe reducing the cost?
I have not done that, and I'll tell you the reason why. Is that a majority vote of the Preservation Committee and just about everybody that I have sounded out and asked about that, they think of the theater with that marquee there. I don't think anybody probably around here has even, that's alive today, has seen the theater when it had just a little porch thing on the front of it, the way the military built it. And the military wasn't concerned about having the lights and all that in front.
Okay, so, and one further question then, how many buildings are you responsible for as a committee?
6.
6 buildings, okay.
And
And,
it's one of them.
yeah, and that's one, okay. And do we have any idea what the approximate cost and care that's needed just to get those into a state that we're not going to lose them over the next 3 to 5 years? Do we know what it's gonna cost to do
I
that?
have no idea.
Hey Jen,
Yeah,
I have your balance.
thank you.
No,
For my cost.
no, your
Oh.
balance as of, I assume, the first half payable to MK on both of those projects. You want?
Oh, okay. I didn't hear from him.
No, well, I don't know, that's,
Oh, okay.
so you look at it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, oh, no, okay, I think, okay, that's fine, thank
They
you very much.
received roughly $25,000 a year off the assessments. They pretty much count.
So that's the budget for the 6 buildings is $25,000 a year.
That's what's taken out of assessments to go to their, so, but there is no reserve study on any of the buildings.
Any other questions?
Hey, I have a question, Mr. Bitters. I know MK took down part of it to be able to look up. Is that all they've done? Because I know we allotted so much
No, they
money.
did, see, part of the original proposal, like I said, was redo all that bad wood on the front of the theater itself. But that's all they did on the marquee, and that's all they were supposed to do.
Okay.
This original proposal, it was nothing to do with actually repairing what we found up there. But we had to do that just to see what we had.
So they've done what you've asked them to do?
Yes, they finished out the balance of their initial bid. Yeah, that's what they take care of.
Thank you.
They moved on to the service club now.
And have we gotten any, I know that when you brought us to Service Club, we were concerned about, are we starting from the inside or the outside? We had plenty of banter about that. We're starting from the outside, we understand that. Have we opened the walls to understand what we're looking at inside the walls?
No, you're probably talking about some real money there. What we're doing is preventative in nature as far as the holes, the holes outside, from the outside part of the sills, that's where the rainwater is getting into inside the walls and where it's causing the wood to rot and the paint to pop off in places around it. It's probably why you go in there and you paint it and a couple of years later it doesn't look that good. Well, when rare times it does rain, the water gets in there. We probably have fixed, we only fixed about the 10 worst on this little job, just to see what kind of a difference it might make on those sides of it.
Is there ever a better system on it?
What we got?
Is there ever a better on it?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I was so concerned with the window sills that once we opened all the windows up and looked at them, I
Like
didn't look back
our
there.
problem out here, there was a gutter there. But it's been gone for years.
Oh,
Now
no.
That's what's causing all the drop.
Well, now to go back to the theater, that's one of the problems that we've had too, is that the slide on the front of the marquee, it sticks up 18 inches. The water, there's a nice slope on the little roof of the marquee. There's nowhere for the water to go.
Right,
It just cools up and builds up there. In fact, so it's not surprising we've got,
Yeah, you
all
have a
kinds of
50-year-old
damage there.
elevated baby pool.
There's gonna be 2 4-inch drains put in each corner of that thing for the future. So that water does have somewhere to go. If you have a good roof and place for the water to go, actually, the way it hangs out over the curb, it'll drain into the street, most of it, when this is done.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whichever one you want to start with.
Good morning, this is the recycle report. We shipped June 3rd, we're not getting paid until August 15th, which is Father's Day. The report from the Las Moras Restoration Committee is there's no other, there's nothing new to report.
Thank you.
That's it.
Recreation?
Hi, I'm Julie Morano. The Recreation Committee is going full steam ahead. We did lose Amos Trisler as he has resigned from his position as Recreation Manager. Sherry Newman is now the Recreation and Events Manager and is taking over the entire Recreation Department with the help of Pedro Pacheco and her full staff. This month, we met with our marketing committee members have drafted the flyer for the 5K run and walk. This will be for our grand opening on October 1st. We will have medals for participation as well as first, second, and third in 4 divisions. Sherry is also working on food trucks, blood drive, and a few other things to make this a fun event. The fitness hour will be talked about in the agenda item, but I wanted to let everyone know the hours have changed. Because we have many DPS troopers coming and going at all different times, the fitness center will now be open at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday. Please remember that starting August 1st, there may be some changes depending on what the board decides today. Please note that if you have an adult child and they would like to go to the gym, they will need to be claimed on your taxes and proof needs to be shown. And their name needs to be added to your membership in the front office. Otherwise, they will need a membership of their own to participate, or they will have to pay the full fee, whatever that may be. This is not just for the fitness center, but for all amenities. We are still looking for committee members who would like to get involved, instructors for classes, and volunteers who would like to just help with the events. Please contact Sherry Newman, the committee members, or myself if you are interested. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to old or unfinished business. Community council has not met. They're also in their break period, so that's why we're skipping over that item on the agenda. The wastewater treatment area, that is an ongoing issue. We have worked as far as we can with our attorney to basically come up with a contract that's beneficial to the membership and the board. We have an engagement letter which I will circulate to the board. Our attorney has recommended that we move to a specialist, someone who actually specializes in municipal utility code, law, statutes. That means we're getting down to the nitty-gritty as far as what we need to figure out. So I'll circulate that engagement letter, and we can decide if that's something that we want to do. Now, we'd be engaging them through our current attorney, so that would be the liaison to them. So that's where we're at. Any questions about that? No? Discussion items. If these are the discussion items you put forth, then please step up as needed. Amenity versus facility, cost versus benefit.
It's mine. I hear the word amenity tossed around a lot. What does amenity mean to you? And feel free to discuss. What does amenity mean to you? What's the cost benefit? Do you know what the cost is of that amenity? That type of stuff. Just speak up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this amenity versus facility cost benefit is something that maybe we should move below the membership assessment and analysis, because I think that that will give a much clearer vision of where things have been, where we're at, where we're headed if we don't change course. So, I mean, I think that if you're talking about cost and benefit, if we move this to something after we've discussed where we're at from a revenue perspective, it may make more sense, and then it maybe have a more clear conversation.
Yep. So think about this as you're listening to the rest of it.
Okay, so the next discussion item, this was from last time, the CPI index. So a couple of changes that have come forth and just been brought to our attention since the last time we talked. Normally we do the calculation in September. That was simply because we were waiting on the we use the June over June number. And so why do we use the June number to the next June number? That's the way our declaration is set up. So it doesn't, you can't go to the declaration and start looking for the word June and find that specific date. What it says is that the year over year month will be used. And so way back whenever they started calculating it, June was the number that they historically used. So that's why the June number was set. That number has come in, I'm not certain as to what it was, 9.1, 9.3, 9.1. So there is the option, or the way that the regulation is written is that it's 2.5% or the CPI, max of those two, or anywhere in between. From a calculation standpoint, it's just a percentage change from June to June. That's the number where we start from. We're not relegated to use that number. We just can't go over that number. So that's, I don't know, I'll open it up to discussion. You know, we've had this topic simply because I want to spend a lot of time on making sure people are informed as far as how this process works. So, oh, and the time change. And this is something that we need to decide. It's not necessarily something that we need to vote on, but generally we do it in September. Now, because we tried to accommodate the membership and move the meeting to the third Saturday, that gives the office staff very little time to print and mail the booklets for the fiscal year that's coming up. So my recommendation would be that we move the CPI calculation and vote to August, still effective the same time, but we move up our decision so that whatever is decided can be printed and disseminated to the membership through the coupon system. So I don't know if there's any thoughts on that, or I'll open it up to the board first. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Mr. Peterson, I remember last year, vaguely, last year was going to be the last year for coupons?
We did this.
We wish.
We wish. We discussed doing that, but we don't have a mechanism to communicate with the, if we don't use the coupon system, from a business standpoint, you have to invoice them. So we either send out invoices every month or we send the coupons every month.
We don't
So
have an alternative.
we don't have an alternative at this point. Now, if that's something that we want to take on as a board and give that as a directive that over the next 2 years we want to phase out the coupon system, that would be something that would be prudent. However, that's a big process. You can't just flip the switch.
Just out of curiosity, what is it costing us to mail out those coupons? I know I don't get any coupons because I don't request any.
Well,
The printing, the process, how much is that?
let's just look at what it costs to mail out. I mean, we did this analysis for the voting, you know, when we had we said it was gonna cost like $3,000 or $4,000 for the whole thing. $1,800, that was the audit. It's approximately $1,500 to $1,600 just for envelopes, mailing, printing, all that.
And some coupon books are pretty thick because they have more than one.
Right. So at minimum, you know, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800.
To mail out all the coupons and to print them.
What percentage, you know, of people that get coupons?
The stack is big.
Really?
Yeah, it's
We
actually.
don't know, we don't know.
I don't know what the number. I was here last year when they.
Just when we're doing coupons, what they do is they can run a report, and anybody that's on auto coupons or auto debit, you can push. So first you clear the whole thing, and then you could run the list, and you check that box. So then whenever you do print it, it's only printing to people that mail it in, or they pay it for the year. So it does help. I mean, it does take some staff, but there's a button where you're able to kind of clear it all.
Yeah.
And then you get the list from accounting to who's all on auto pay.
Well, that makes sense because I haven't gotten coupons for 10 years.
It
If you're
takes up
if
that
you're on
whole
auto, then you don't have to.
When they do it, that workroom in the back, it's
Yeah.
spread out over that entire situation. So, thank you for giving us some.
Now regarding the CPI, right now it's technically, if the vote, we're not gonna vote today, it's technically about $9, potentially that's the highest, more or less.
808.
808.
One lot, one house.
Okay, that's the maximum right now,
That's if you took, yes, that's an
808. And what's the lowest at 2.5?
No, so you can do up to 2.5,
Okay.
or you'll see in this member analysis, and this, again, maybe we should push this to after the member analysis, you can see the different things that they've done over the years.
I know, I saw that. But what I'm asking, if we went 2.5, what would it be at 2.5?
$2.13. It would be $1 per each membership,
More or less?
more or less. And I show around $7.77 for.
Okay, so somewhere between $7 and $8.
Yeah.
We can do the math on the
Yeah,
computer
yeah.
here in a moment. Any other questions on CPI?
And if we vote, just for those who might not, I'm aware of the process, and I think some of you all are aware of the process. If we agree to an amount this next month, then all of this will kick in on October 1st. Payments for residential and memberships.
Yeah, that's our fiscal year. Any other board questions or comments? Okay, anything from the membership, questions on the process for CPI? Yes, ma'am.
Y'all saying residential, but technically CPI is only attached to the membership, your own one account. So do you happen to know what's the base amount that you're starting the CPI amount on?
That's in the analysis that you'll see here in a moment.
Because residential, as per the declarations, it says it needs to be less than the membership. But if you're basing CPI on residential, that's not accurate. It's just your membership, which are your O1 accounts, without the impound fund.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, to tell you the truth. I mean, say you're gonna use $8 or say $5. Where does that go to our monthly payments? Are we adding $5 to our monthly payments?
That would be what would be proposed, yes. I mean, whatever the change is, that would be the proposed, yes.
But we get two accounts.
Right, that's, they're,
So it's just one.
No, whenever, all these numbers that have been stated, the 213, the 8, all that, that's combining the total change. And again, this will be in the, let's do the assessment analysis. You'll see all of this. It'll be much more clear when we do that.
Yeah, that's the idea.
So that's for the membership. That would be the two members for the membership.
So I'm going to roll this out so everyone can see. You'll still be able to see the directors. Directors, you have all this in front of you.
The hard copy.
Yeah, we all have hard copies.
Trevor, why don't you stand in the back?
Yeah, or if you want to stand in the back of the seat up here, you can as well. This is so that we can get it on the camera as well. Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. I can do it on here. At least that's what I practice.
Of course, you couldn't find it, that's what.
Oh, I rolled it over here and I was like, oh my goodness.
whatever they
It's the
come to.
Thursday.
Yeah, we were gonna do it on the 13th.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. So, yeah, Thursday.
I signed the paper on the 13th.
All right, so we went back to 2010 and we started out with the membership count from 2010 because that's your basis of where you start out. So your bottom piece is your FRM memberships, which surprisingly over the years just haven't really changed over time. The second piece is the residential piece, which is any property that has a structure on it. And the third, the blue section, is the memberships themselves. And so in 2010, and the numbers are down here, and we'll have this presentation available for everyone to receive via their email afterwards. But you had somewhere north of 2,600 just in the blue section, 2,600 memberships. So for a total of over 3,500 memberships. So that means that all 3,500 of those people were getting coupon books. And we're paying into the kitty to pay for everything that happens here. Over time, we're now down to 1,790 in this blue section, compared to 2,620 in 2010. So from 2010 to 2022, we lost approximately 800 memberships. That's a lot of dollars when it gets down to them.
How much?
I'm glad you asked. So, on a monthly basis, you went from just under collecting $140,000 potentially to, as you know, over here in 2022, you're collecting somewhere just north of $120,000. So approximately, $15,000 or so per month that you're no longer collecting. So on an annualized basis, that's a lot of money that's no longer on the board to maintain all of. We still have the same amount of facilities. Same amount of facilities, buildings are getting older, less dollars. So.
But the rate was lower 10 years ago.
And the rate was lower as well, but and we're going to get to a function of that here in a moment. So this also accounts for the rate changes over time. This is on a monthly basis. This is on an annual basis. So you're collecting just over $1.6 million, and now you're collecting somewhere just south of 1.5. So approximately with the rate changes and the changes in membership, you're about $100,000, $150,000 different over the course of time. And that's a lot of that makeup is in this last section where you had an increase last year. So if you look at it from the perspective of from $2,010, and this is apples to apples, no inflation. So in the first year after 2010, when you had your membership drop, you were collecting about $1,000 less per month. Until you got all the way to 2014, you were collecting $23,000 less each month based on the number of members that you had. And then you started to make a move here. where you're getting back to, now we're not gaining any members, we're still losing members. However, we were increasing the rates. And that's the only way that this is going to make it up, is that the rates keep up with the number of members that you're losing, or you stop losing members. So it's a function of both of them, and you're going to keep losing members if you don't have the dollars to keep up your facilities. So this is what you were asking. These are the two separate pieces of your membership. So the red is your residential assessment, and then this is your membership assessment. And so you can see from 2010 to 2015, there were no changes in the dues. Not one change. And this is what happened.
Does this include the special assessments?
This does not include the special assessments that were made. This is strictly on your dues. So when you did nothing to change your dues, this was the result. So here's where we're at from 2010 to 2022. Over that time period, you had several years where you didn't make changes, you didn't make changes here, you didn't make changes here. And over that time, you're just over $16 difference from 2010 to 2022. Now, if you go inflation-wise, and you take the amount that we collected, the $1.6 million that we collected in 2010, and you bring that to 2022 dollars, just no assessment changes, just straight dollar to dollar. It's the buying power is $750,000 less than it was in 2010. We are way behind. Way behind. We don't even collect today what we collected in 2010, and we haven't done anything to fight inflation. So we are way, way behind from the ability to actually maintain this place even at the 2010 level. So I'll open that up to questions to the board or to the membership as well. Yes, ma'am.
The membership. It's not our residents, it's outside memberships that pay to use facilities on the fort.
That's the FRM members. So that would be the group in white on the screen here. This small group down here.
Okay.
Those are your outside members. Those are your FRM memberships.
But we're not losing residents, correct?
Well, so you do see a slight change in the number of residential members,
Right.
which that change was, say, when a property was given back to the fort, or it was taken through a bankruptcy filing or something like that. But that number over time in residential count in 2010 was 837. Your residential count now is 842. So we've actually put more lots back on.
Okay, so where is this other membership?
So these are memberships.
A lot of confusion between lot owners
Yes.
and
Right.
membership.
So there's your residential membership, but these lots that people own. So like say that you own a lot and a house,
Right,
but then you own the two lots on the other side of you.
yes,
Those two memberships are in your blue.
okay,
The residential is only accustomed to where your property sits, but that also holds a membership. So you actually have 3 memberships to 1 residential.
okay, but this property is still on the fort.
The property hasn't changed. Property's
Okay,
actually gone
but
back
they
up.
still own it, so
So you have,
they
okay,
own 3 memberships. If they own a lot and then the 2 lots, they own 3 memberships.
yes ma'am.
So if they sell a lot, there's still a new membership coming. I don't understand why this is decreasing.
Okay, so Unit 1.
Mhm.
Unit 1 has 83 or 86?
78.
78, not even close. It was built to be 362.
Okay,
It was designed to be 362. So there were a lot of non-performing lots sold that were around there. People over time, and what's really interesting, and we'll get a little morbid here, but if you look at the major decrease in memberships, was right here in 2013, 2014, and 2015. If you remember when this place started in the early 70s, most of your members were between late 30s, early 40s. How old are they now? In 2013, 2014, and 2015. You lost 500 of your 800 members in that little time period. Now, they didn't all pass away in this time frame. They actually passed away 5 to 6 years before this. This is when your administration started looking at what's still on the books. Why are we not collecting these dollars? Why, we're going after these people. So we actually have people return non-performing and postage stamps lot to us every month. We probably get between 5 and 10 lots returned back to us every month, where the fort takes those back into their pool of property that could either be common property if it was deplatted, or could be sold at some point. But you had a lot of postage stamped and non-performing lots that were sold in the early 70s and early 80s.
Okay, if it's still a non-performing lot, will we be assessed as common property on those lots?
So actually, the way that that's being set now, it goes into the property taxes that are paid by the fort as a whole.
So that doesn't change. The fort is going to have the property taxes that they have to pay, regardless.
We have a
of
plan for that. We do have a plan for that. So when you look at all of the areas, all the units that were made into non-performing or were never sold as, as postage stamp, once you're able to aggregate those together and deplot them, then you can return them to common property, and then assess the tax benefit or reduce that at that point. But you have to be able to, right now, if you took a keyboard, it would be, top half is lots that are owned, and the middle half, and there's one person in the middle, and you can't push all of those back together until you do, and it's a large project. So remember, this number at one point in 1991 was 6,000.
Question. So are we talking about still CPI right now, or are we just talking
I'm just
about
talking in general, the evaluation of where we were in 2010, potential revenue dollars, versus where we are today, and the ability for us to collect based on membership that is actually able to pay.
Right. So it's actually 5,839 total lots when the fort was established. 4,504 are your colonial lots, which in 2010, there's 28 counties where they've made it where it's illegal, where you can advertise it or sell it. We still are living with that off the cap. There are still people that are paying that. But what I'm concerned about, because we keep wanting to raise our assessments, if we performed on every single performing lot that we have right now, it's only 1,535. So the anticipation, once we clean out all the non-performing, it's a little disheartening. So I don't, a lot of our units, we're getting ready to completely out-assess if we keep going at the rate of what y'all are saying with the CPI. What's unique with the fort, and that's why it kind of comes in there, we have a lot of commercial entities that can kind of help relieve the backs of people that are vested here. We also have the ability to sell 2,000 members, FRMs, which we don't look like we're ever promoting. We have the ability to and then like I said, the CPI needs to be based off of the FRM amount.
And we'll get there, and I'll definitely research what you're saying as far as how that works.
But if we still have some that sell, so when you look at it, we're only having 1,000, and if you're looking back in the heyday when we had almost 6,000 memberships, that's really disheartening as a investor here.
I'm disheartened as an investor as well, and I agree. We have multiple levers that we're going to have to pull. We're going to have to pull a lot of levers to get back to where we need to be, because like I said, we're $750,000 behind buying power-wise from 2010, plus this deficit. So yeah, as an investor, as an owner, it's disheartening. But we got to talk about the real facts. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it for you. This is where we're at.
Like I said, we have hunts, and we have motel, and we have RV park. I mean, we're a 2,700 acre place. So all I'm hearing right now, or what I'm seeing, is it's just getting on the backs of the people that are actually invested here, and it's
so last year we were $300,000 in debt, at a $300,000 deficit from your HOA to what the expenses were. We took money from the hunt, from the motel, from, well, not the RV park this year, but generally the RV park, and we did supplement. So to the tune of approximately $300,000 this year, we have supplemented from the hunt, from the motel. But we can't keep doing that. We have to invest a portion of that back into those properties, or they will go